And we're back.
Welcome back, everybody, to the only podcast on the internet that is slowly dying in this massive drought in the United Kingdom.
And we know that because we are doctors.
Not doctors.
I'm Dr. Silverstein.
I'm Dr. Armshaw.
And on this week's episode, we will be looking at the ongoing drought in the United Kingdom, the mayoral contest in Manchester, and the continuing issues with Mr. Nigel Farage and people giving money to him and to people around him.
Turning to the international arena, we'll be checking in on everybody's famous will they, won't they bomb each other situation going on in the Strait of Hormuz. We'll also check in with everybody's friend and, just absolute star of the channel, Infantino, your man, who is the head of FIFA.
Yes, Gianni Infantino will be not on the show today, but we will be
little baby Johnny, we call him around the block.
In the United States, we will be discussing Max Miller and Bernie Moreno and all the horrible things in between there. We will also be discussing Anthony Fauci's star-stunning attendance at the in Congress last week, and we will finally end with some good news. All that and more on Doctors Not Doctors, starting right now. Patrick.
Chris.
So it's been a bit of a hot week here. I've been out. I've been out of the country, which is why this is coming out later than we normally do. I wasn't able to, and probably should have brought my computer with, but we were traveling on our normal recording day. So we are now recording this on the 2nd of August, which is Sunday. But where I was, there's still pictures of videos of the UK. And they're like, hey, this is the UK 6 weeks ago, and look at it now. And I mean, the drought is real, and it's everywhere. I was the countries that I was in, regularly has issues with water, and it's actually it's a lot more serious than it is here. But it seems like it's getting serious here in the UK as well. Like people can stop pretending that it's just going to magically make itself better. It's been several years now of almost constant drought of some kind.
Yep, it's getting worse and worse. This is like, I've been in the United Kingdom since 2010. And in that time, I've just seen summers get hotter. I've seen them get drier. I think this is the first time, though, that I've seen like massive wildfires going on all over England and also Scotland. So that's been fun.
Yeah. Wildfires. It's not unusual, but they're usually on like fields. So a few years ago, a field will spontaneously combust, or somebody might, set the fire themselves. But it does happen. I believe there are more fires, like more MWR fires that happen in the north. But it's basically everywhere, and it's across half of England. They're just saying we're in drought now. And so where I live, there's now a hose pipe ban, as in that's just like a hose ban. You can't water your lawn. And as we were landing, I was noting that the forests are still green, but all the pastures, all the public green spaces are very brown.
Oh, yeah. And then, like, seriously, all I know, Chris, is that I can't throw a barbecue in my back garden, because if I do, I will set the neighborhood ablaze. And that's not great.
Yeah.
We finally get sunny weather in Britain, and we can't have a barbecue. This is hell, Chris. We're living in hell.
It is like, this is an issue. I mean, like, it's been hot and dry for most of the summer now, and normally summers tend to be kind of the mix. And back when I first moved here, we're talking about like it would never get this hot, and it would never not rain this much. And my concern is that either it's going to stay dry for a long time, or then we're going to see the other half of the balance come in at the worst possible time. And that's what happens in the winter sometimes, where we don't have a drought in winter. We just have constant flooding.
Right. And so I'd like, on the one hand, if you believe that averages are what really matters, right, that should be fine, right? Because, okay, you run down the stocks of water in the summer, but then you refill the aquifers in the winter, and it's all cool. But I think we all know that the reality is that is not how it works. The average is not what we want, because if you get a massive surplus of rain, you're right, you just get massive flooding, and a lot of people lose their homes. Yeah. And if you have a huge amount of drought, then you get fires, and a bunch of people lose their homes. And that's not great. I'd like an even keel, Chris.
What you do need an even keel. Yeah,
spread it out a bit.
That. No, I mean, but you also have to remember that it's not. This is not the first drought. There have been 3 droughts in the past 5 years, according to the UK government. There was one in 2022, 25, and 26.
Yep.
And so, and also you need the rain to come down to start making food, or at least to help with irrigation. So when you're flying over some parts, you see that the fields, like the where agriculture is fine, and that's why it's drought, because they have to direct the water somewhere else.
Right.
It's not just because you are running low on water, although that is part of the issue as well. But it's just that there's not enough rain coming down. But it's been happening more and more consistently. So if every other year or consistent years that you're just not going to have enough rain, then we have a very, very big problem in the UK, because what do? You cannot make more water. And unless the UK starts doing massive desalinization, which isn't good. I mean, desalinized water still tastes like salt water. So so
it is kind of environmentally ruinous is the other thing, because it takes just so much energy. It takes so much energy. And if you got to burn that coal to get the energy to get the water, because you don't have enough water because of the global warming caused by the burning of the fossil fuels, I feel like that's a cycle, Chris.
Yeah, it's a bit of a cycle that's not going to work. I mean,
right.
There's some river like ponds and riverbeds that have completely dried up. I mean, and you have to there's a couple of things here. So, I mean, some droughts can be caused not just by the lack of rainfall, but by, bad infrastructure. But the UK, England specifically, we should specify that in different parts of the UK, the water is managed differently. So in England, the water is a private industry. Or in, I think, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, there's a variation on the ownership, whether it be a publicly owned company or something else.
Okay.
So there's a number of different things that could happen, but I mean, it is. I think there's a bunch of people who just want this to be better, but in order for it to be better, we have to actually do something about the way that the water is managed in England.
Okay.
Which I'm not a water expert, but trust me, if it's being managed by a private company, you can probably do something better than they will.
They have not exactly covered themselves in glory. May I direct you to Thames Water, who apparently they have invested so little into the infrastructure that channels the water that apparently just a huge amount of water goes missing just through leaks, like enough to cover an entire hose pipe ban, I understand. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, maybe they could fix the leaks with all the money they charge us for the water.
That's what they've been doing around London for 10, 15 years, almost 20 years, is replacing the Victorian plumbing system and also building the giant, but it takes a lot of time, a lot of resources. And at the end of it, you don't even see it. You don't even see the benefits. So it's hard to get the political thumbs up when somebody's like, oh, we did all this work in the pipes. Can't see them. You didn't do it. It doesn't matter. So,
oh dear. I hope that's not true. I think that we should have a replace the pipes fan club, and every pipe that gets replaced, we should spring for I don't know, a cup of coffee, something like that. Just like a thanks guy.
Gee, hey, thanks for
just a randomly selected guy who's out there digging up the pipes and whatnot. Be like, this one's for you.
Thanks, guy. Here's a hot coffee on a hot day with
just a little bit,
with a water shortage. With a water shortage.
It'll have to be an espresso. We're out of water.
We're out of water. Espresso. We are so sorry. So I think, I mean, there's nothing we could do. I guess we could just keep on talking about it. But yeah, I think we should move on to other big news in the UK.
I agree.
One of them being the election of Bev Craig as the mayor of Greater Manchester.
That's right.
So this week there was an election. Last week there was an election in Manchester to replace the Prime Minister, the former King of the North, and now King of us all, Andy Burnham. And a lot of people were looking at this to see, obviously, how's reform going to do? What's going to happen? Was it all about Burnham? Where are the other parties going to land? And the Labour Party took it, and they took it big. The Reform Party was which really, I mean, they got what in the first round, 21% of the vote, and the Labor Party got 47% of the vote in the first round.
So more than 2-1.
More than 2-1 just to start off with. And then in Greater Manchester, they have a different voting system where you can do a second preference vote.
Right.
And so all the people who didn't vote for, basically all the people who did vote for, labor and reform, because at the end they were at the top two, they got their votes put into the other votes. If you didn't vote labor or reform for your second choice, your vote that's it. You've had your vote. Yeah. So in the second round, the Labor Party got 66.3% of the vote, and Reform got 33.7% of the vote. It should be noted that the turnout was a little bit down by 7%, but over 500,000 people voted out of 2 million. So, I think it's something to be seen, but I don't think this is like you read into this with, this is how it's going to be.
No, but I do think, I mean, it's true that in science, you can never really prove your theories because ultimately, that would mean being able to show just too many variables. There's too many things that can change, too many things that can go wrong.
Especially
it's impossible. Well, especially, right? But I mean, this is even true when it comes to something like physics. What you can do, however, in science is disprove theories. And while I do take your point that the results of the Greater Manchester mayoral election should not be taken as proof positive that Labour's on the upswing and Burnham has turned it all around, I do think at the very least we can disprove the idea that reform is getting stronger, because this is not a race that they should have lost 2-1. This is a race that it looked like they should have been a potential contender for.
And I think 6 months ago, it would have been closer. Yes. They could have won it.
Exactly. I do think that what we're seeing here is a big change in terms of where reform was. And I wonder how much of that has to do with, reform having done well in the local elections, having taken control of a bunch of, councils, and then, having to run those councils. And I think we can all sort of agree it's a relatively uncontroversial statement that reform is not used to actually running things or being responsible for things or behaving like grown-ass adults. They're much better in opposition,
Yeah, no, reform. Well, that's the kind of party reform is. They cannot be the government because they can't be held accountable for the things they say. Their only strength is that they can say whatever they want. And for a long period of its history, they were allowed to get away with whatever they said. And then other people would be challenged on what reform had said and how, they could basically back up reform. I mean, if they say there's too many people coming in the small boats, it's not challenged if they're telling the truth. The question to the government would be, how are you stopping this from happening? As opposed to saying, here's the numbers from the past few years. And that's only really changed this year, maybe the end of last year. I mean, there's some things that you can take a look at here. I mean, first off, reform still came in second. So it's not like, that we're going back to the way things were.
Yeah, no, I think we can put that put that horse to rest. It's been beat enough, I think.
Yeah. So reform still comes in second, even though it was a distant second. The Greens come in third in Manchester with 12% of the vote, which is still a huge deal because, again, a year ago, 2 years ago, I don't see this happening. I don't see this going well for the Greens, or at least that well. Yeah. But then here's the big switch, and a lot of people are still, I think, trying to put this in their heads. The party that came in last was the Conservatives. The party that came in fourth was Restore. So the Restore party beat the Conservatives in Greater Manchester. So that, I think, is one of the bigger issues because everybody's like, Kimmy Badenoch is having her great resurgence. And Kimmy Badenoch is obviously, well, first off, she survived. She's out-survived Keir Starmer. As prime minister. So, and last year, we were all saying, she's basically the clock is ticking. And then she changed her game, and then she became much more palatable to some conservative voters. And she stopped. I think it's also important that she stopped fully running to reform. She basically stopped halfway and said, okay, well, I got to stop here and maybe claim some of my own space. And then apparently there was some stuff online saying that the second preference votes from reform from the Tories weren't going to reform or vice versa. So there isn't really, there doesn't seem to be this obvious common bedfellows for the two of them. So, but it's more. I think it'd be more concerning for the conservatives that they came in dead last. They still maintain their they still maintained their deposit. They got it above 5%, but Restore beats them, and then that gives more power, or at least more oomph to Restore, which is now Rupert Lowe is now publicly saying, "Oh, hey, Nigel, I know we have our issues, but how about you and I? We start, working stuff out." Because well, maybe we can get into that later, but this is I think this is obviously a big deal. It's good for obviously congratulations to Bev Craig, but ever since this thing has been a mayoralship, it's only been held by Labor. But it'll be interesting to see, in fact, maybe we should take a look at what Andy Burnham got when he ran.
Yeah, that's a fair point, actually, right?
Time and time again. Because he's been mayor of Greater Manchester since forever. And at some point, I'll be able to find it. But maybe we'll do that in a different episode because we got so much more to talk about.
That's fair. I will just bring up one last thing, which is interesting, and I think it really tells you that there may be a bit of a change to the politics here, which is this. So YouGov runs polling on UK leadership approval ratings, right?
Yeah.
And so they're on the 1st of August. So this is this is piping fresh, kids. The ranking of popularity in terms of the UK political leaders is as follows. Number 1, Andy Burnham with plus 16, up 16 points, 16% percentage points more people approve than disapprove of Mr. Burnham. Kemi Badenoch in second with a plus 1.
Plus 1.
Huge. 31% favorable, 30% unfavorable. Not too bad. Positive territory, and much, much better than she was doing, I got to say. Ed Davey, also plus 1. He's the head of the Lib Dems, although only 24% favorable, 23% unfavorable. Zach Polanski, not so good. Minus 20%.
Minus 20%.
Yeah, 20% favorable, 40% unfavorable. So, if you're thinking about the Greens as a potential replacement for the Labour Party, if you're one of the people who was a Labour voter who decided to vote Green to send a message, well, it would appear the message was somewhat received by the Labour Party, and people are starting to move back towards, or at least those who are in that category. If Zach Polanski is hoping to, actually replace Labour, this is not the kind of polling he wants to see. But that still leads us to point number 5, Nigel Farage. Guess how he's doing, Chris?
Not great. If he's point number 5, I'm going to say it's not going well.
Yeah, minus 24.
Minus 24, yeah.
26% favorable, Chris?
Yeah.
50% unfavorable.
Oofed. Oof.
Yeah, so he might actually not be in such good nick, is all I'm going to say.
Just before we finish this, just to clear up just the obvious changes here. Andy Burnham, when Andy Burnham was the mayor of Greater Manchester since 2017, he obviously won with a huge majority of the vote, 63% in 2017. And then the Tories and Lib Dems came in first and second there. In 2024, it was Labour, Tories, and an independent, then Reform, and then Hannah Spencer, who ran for mayor of Greater Manchester. Just to show the massive change, and now Reform have come in second. And I see what you're saying about the Green Party there, or at least Zach Polanski. But I think that, again, since Andy Burnham hasn't really had a chance to do anything yet,
yes,
I think we need to give it a bit more time before we say that the Green Party is a flash in the pan. And their time
I'm not arguing that anything is set in stone here. I'm simply I'm suggesting that this might be one of the ways to read how the polling is working, where there were a lot of people who are very turned off by Keir Starmer's administration and are seeing Burnham as a bit of a reset. I think this says that Burnham has opportunities here politically.
He does.
That Starmer absolutely did not have. Whether or not he's going to use those opportunities wisely, well, that's kind of up to old Andy.
Burnham has opportunities politically, but so did Starmer.
Starmer, to quote Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, he chose poorly.
He chose poorly. And let's move on about somebody else who chose poorly, Nigel Farage. Now, why don't you give us a little update on the situation with Nigel, Posh George, and apparently Posh George's mom?
Yeah. So those of you who've been following the saga of George Cottrell, who is how to put this, Chris? Like, could you describe George Cottrell for our listeners just very
George
quickly?
Cottrell is a person who has a lot of money, who is also a hanger-on of Nigel Farage, who you could be seen with him. And this is for many different years, for like about 10 years. He is part of the Brexit movement, and he's like basically helped fund Nigel. And and Nigel Farage is now currently in trouble because Cottrell helped fund, at least in part or in whole, some social media.
Gave a
staffers
bunch of money, right?
And he gave a bunch of money to Farage. And the question is, the problem is that Posh George got done for fraud in the United States.
He is a criminal. He is a felon, is what he is. He is also not resident in the United Kingdom, Chris. Would you like to know where he lays his head these days?
I would love to know.
Montenegro.
Wow, really?
Yeah, just chilling out in Montenegro, which fair.
Nice country if you can get there.
Right, exactly. So, but so George Cottrell, noted felon, rich man with entirely too much money and awful politics, is also a bit of a mama's boy, Chris.
Oh, that's nice.
Right.
He loves his mother.
He does love his mother. Do you want to know how much he loves her, Chris?
Yes.
Sent her $2 million, Chris.
$2 million.
$2 million. $2 million he gives to his mother. That's how much he loves his mother. On a completely unrelated note, his mother almost immediately afterward made several very large donations to the Reform Party.
No, come on. No.
Yep, afraid so. Yep. Nope. It followed hard upon, Chris, as in like she gets the money and like literally within a few days, bam, 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 bam.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, so the mother of her own free will gave Farage money that, I mean, she could have given him the money at any point, I suppose.
Yeah. But, she's of modest means, Chris. So, so it's kind of interesting that she comes into a bunch of money from her son and then immediately of her own free will decides to give just a ton of that money to a Reform Party.
So that came from The Guardian, right?
Well, this is news. I don't think it's just The Guardian.
I'm seeing here, doing a little looking up, is that it looks like it's come here from The Guardian from last Wednesday, that this person gave his mom $2 million, and then the mom gave Farage a bunch of two further transfers of $300,000 each, and one giant transfers of $1.4 million. Again. I mean, people are really eager to sneak this guy money.
Just so strange, isn't it? Made those. You got the money 24 to 72 hours before making donations to Reform.
That's a lot of trust,
to the company, or to the company. Yes. Britain means business.
No, really?
Well, yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
The thing is, so I'm going to use a term here, which is, loaded. And I'm going to say that when I was in law school, one of the things that they had to study was money laundering.
Really?
That's yeah. And so
how to do it?
Well, I mean, because you've got to know how to recognize it when you see it, right?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Go to law school to learn how to be a criminal, kids.
Well, yeah, but only so you cannot be a criminal, kids.
Oh, okay.
Because if you want to be a criminal lawyer, or do you want to be a criminal lawyer?
Oh, nice.
Very different career paths. One of them has dental. Anyway, getting back into this whole George Cottrell business, the thing is, if you were trying to get money to someone and you're not allowed to send it to them legally, you would want to use what is known as a pass-through, right?
Yeah.
So this is, it's a money laundering technique. The whole idea being that, like, let's say you've got money from an illegal source. You want to get it into the normal economy, right? You can't just immediately put it into a bank account somewhere, right? Because then questions start getting raised. Where'd you get that money from? That's a huge amount of money to have when your official job is unemployed. What is going on here? So instead, what you want to do is to give it to someone else who then makes the donation, makes the sale, makes the purchase, whatever it is, basically, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that is what happened here.
No.
And the reason I'm not saying that, Chris, is that I don't know that it would be illegal for George Cottrell to have made the donations directly. I also don't know that it wasn't.
Right.
And it should be said, at no point has George Control proved that he had the legal right to make any of these donations in the first place. So, this is an interesting situation that I think bears a little bit of scrutiny, and it is receiving scrutiny. It is currently under investigation. So,
yeah, well, I mean, again, I think I would say this basically. A year ago, if this story had come out, I don't think anybody would have listened to it. I think that we were obsessed when 2024 with Keir Starmer's glasses and some tickets to see the most famous lady in the world, or one of the most famous women in the world. I can't remember her name. She's the singer with the guitar and she does the hair and she's Shake It Off and all that. But she, but that's what people are obsessed with. And that's they were hyper focused on just cutting down the Labor Party. But here we are now, a year and a half later. And I think I find it interesting that there was such an about face on now scrutinizing the Reform Party. And, and the Reform Party treats this all as a personal attack. And I'm just like, well you benefited from 10, 15 years of, from Brexit party to whatever party, with almost zero real introspection. And now, we're talking about, people who did these things, and you got the other people given Christopher Harborn. It just keeps on getting worse and worse and worse for Nigel. So I think that the shine is coming off of Nigel because people are actually looking at him, because the light is being shown upon him, where it wasn't before, where he was allowed to have that character of being, I'm just a guy down the pub. I smoke cigarettes and I drink bitter. You know what I mean? Like that's his that's his USP. And it turns out, oh no, did you hear he was also a millionaire lawyer? I mean, I'm sorry, millionaire banker, and who complains about not making enough money. Just like you, regular person who struggles to pay their bills and bakes in their homes. Do you not have several homes like Nigel Farage? Do you not get £5 million gifts like Nigel Farage? Do your friends not have their moms give you all this money like Nigel Farage?
I mean, whomst among us, Chris? Whomst among us?
Whomst among us has not had that call on the phone from a friend's mom saying, hey, buddy, I really like what you're doing. I'm going to give you $1.4 million and then $600,000 in two separate transactions.
It's going to be great.
Okay, bye. Click. I mean,
if I had a nickel for every time that happened to me, Chris, my goodness, I could make a series of very dodgy donations to the Reform Party. I mean, so there you go.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is, we'll see how it goes. But also, I think that's another reason why 6 months ago, Reform would have a chance of winning. And of course, we should say that Reform's only won one big by-election since the 2024 general election. They've lost everything else, but coming in second. So it's not like they're gone. It's just that they may have plateaued, maybe, but we're not going to talk about it that long. But
the aura of inevitability is gone. I think we could say at this point.
I think. Yeah, maybe, but it just takes one big crisis for people to go running back.
That's true. The future is not written.
The future is not written. And this thing that happened in Morocco, in the Spanish exclave, Ceuta, I don't know how to pronounce it properly.
Ceuta?
Ceuta. Yeah. The Spanish exclave in Morocco, for whatever reason, Spain still owns. It's a little patch of land in North Africa that is Spanish. And then the other day, 60,000 people stormed the border and swam across and got into the town, and they were all escorted out, and some of them died on the way over. But those images are just fuel people like Farage. So you kind of start forgetting about all the money and corruption. You're just like, oh, this could happen there. And Zia Youssef literally went there. He went there and he went to Morocco, just like, it's going to happen there. They're all coming here. And I mean, they would already.
I feel like the channel's a bit, wider. I don't know.
It's the Mediterranean Sea. I mean, no one's swimming that. Nobody by themselves is swimming that. But I mean, it's just, that's why I'm never like, oh, okay, well, this is it. It's like, no, just one thing will get people to be like, well, I'll put all that aside because I am afraid for my future. So I mean, we'll keep looking at that, but I think we're going to take a little break here. And then we'll come back with the international section, and we will be right back. And we're back.
Chris, It's time for us to turn towards the international arena. Yes. Let's talk a little bit more about football.
I think we should, because we're getting really good at it. I like talking about association football.
Exactly. Now, this is I think you mean soccer to our American friends.
I do mean soccer to American friends, because association football is also known as soccer in several countries.
Yeah. And because of the soccer, you see, it's the thing. It's actually not.
Frankly, it does make sense.
Yeah.
Because everybody used to call it association football, because rugby is also called football. There's a whole thing. Yes. Rugby, football, association football, and then
because all three of these sports started in England in rugby with a ball that you hit with your foot, and then just it mutated from there. Seriously, it's like the like monarch butterfly.
The monarch butterfly.
That's a terrible metaphor.
Wings.
I should have thought
its wings. You didn't. Yeah, and we're still going. That's still rolling.
And that's what it is. That's the metaphor I was going for. Thank you for saving that, Chris.
And exactly, I created the sport that so many millions love. But you know who's trying to kill that sport?
Oh, is it the woke mob, Chris?
Most of the time it is the woke mob, when they're trying to, because they won't give you your black coffee, and they won't let your kids, just be who they are. But in this particular case, it's somebody else. It's a guy named Gianni Infantino.
Oh, little baby Johnny.
Baby Gianni Infantino, who is the head of FIFA. And I mean, FIFA is a notoriously corrupt organization. I mean, it's an organization that has been, racked with claims of corruption for years and years and years. I mean, the name Sepp Blatter is just known, like, who used to run FIFA, and people just like, oh no, that guy, no thank you. So this person was supposed to bring in to kind of clean up FIFA. How's that going?
I'm sorry. Are you telling me Baby Johnny was brought in to clean up FIFA? Did you just? From
what I remember, yeah, his like job was to come in there and make things more better.
I'm sorry. That just tickles me pink, Chris. Wow. Because well, on a scale of 1 to 10, how well do you think he's done at cleaning up FIFA, Chris?
Okay, so again, we only started paying attention to football, soccer, association football about 2 months ago.
Yeah, exactly.
My understanding of how it's going with him is based on that, and frankly, it sounds like it's not going well. But I can tell you that it's not going well, literally, because of just the past 2 months. I don't know a lot from before then, because as the biggest obvious problems happened during the World Cup, but I'm sure people will be able to point out things that happened well before the World Cup. But I think it is the World Cup, and then what's happened directly after it, that's really messing with his legacy, and also his capacity to remain the president of FIFA.
Yeah, well, so okay. Here's the thing: like before we talk about this World Cup, I just want to say a few words about the last World Cup, right? So let's talk 2022, Chris.
Sure. Oh, so that was in Qatar, right?
That sure was. in Qatar. Why was the World Cup in Qatar, Chris? Where it is really hot and not at all is a suitable place at which to play, a sport where everyone is out in the sun running around kicking a football, like necessarily. Like it seemed a bit odd at the time. Also, there were huge allegations of, large numbers of people effectively working in slave-like conditions in order to build the stadium and dying
there was
in the process. And also, no buying beer, which is generally the kind of thing a lot of football fans like to do. So it raised some real questions about why the hell that happened. There were rumors that this was done because of a series of bribes, right? That Qatar just really wanted the World Cup, and so just paid off FIFA in order to get a place there. Now, I don't have proof that this happened, Chris.
So we call that a rumor.
Exactly. So I won't say that definitely happened. Wink and also wink.
Wink and nudge.
Exactly. Nudge. Just a little bit there. So I'm going to say that FIFA already had a bit of a reputation. Infantino already had a bit of a reputation. And then this World Cup happens, right? And
and let's not forget, just before the World Cup, because the World Cup is about to happen. Infantino, kind of opens the door to criticism by handing over the FIFA Peace Prize to Donald Trump, a prize that did not exist before 2025. And I doubt anyone will ever get again.
Yeah, no, I think it's just the one. You'll never get it back from Donald Trump anyway, Chris. So
that's true. It's his.
He's not handing that back. You'll pry it from his cold dead hands. But so yeah, fun story. So Infantino already had a reputation for, potentially being massively corrupt and also for sucking up to, just one of the worst people in global politics, like you do. But anyway, so this World Cup happens, and obviously it's happening in the United States. Obviously, there's all sorts of questions of like, well, is this going to be on the up and up? Is everything going to be fine? And for the most part, I would say the World Cup was a big success, Chris.
More or less, yeah.
But there was one really big moment that happened in the World Cup that, has had a little bit of an afterlife. And that, of course, is Balogun.
I thought you were talking about Argentina's big fight after they lost.
I mean,
no, obviously.
That was delightful, obviously. But no, I'm talking about Balogun. So Balogun, of course, being a football player for the United States team, famously receives a red card under conditions that, honestly, I don't know that the red card was entirely deserved, but no one's asking my opinion on that, and that's absolutely fine. I've made my peace with that. What's interesting is that when you get a red card, you can't play the next game. And that was a problem for the U.S. because they were going to play Belgium. And everyone was like, well, Balogun's our best player. How are we going to play Belgium if we don't have our best player? And so Donald Trump makes a phone call to Infantino. And then what do you know? The red card is still
suspended.
There. But suspended. So Balogun can play in the next game. This is not the usual course of events, I think it is fair to say. So
no.
Yeah, and this is exactly the kind of backroom corruption that people suspected Infantino of like the whole time, except that it wasn't backroom because Donald Trump then tweeted about it.
Yes.
Because that's how you do crimes. If you're Donald Trump, you just tweet about it, and then no one can say you're hiding anything, and that way they don't look at the stuff you're actually hiding.
Genius.
It is kind of genius. He does have a certain genius, Chris, but it did make Infantino look like a total freaking twat. So this is not great for him. And a bunch of organizations in FIFA were basically making noises saying, we need an investigation into this. We need to know why that red card was suspended. We need some answers on this. And if we don't get them, Infantino's got to go. And that's a problem for Infantino because he was busy doing something while all this maneuvering was going on. Chris, would you like to know what that was?
I would love to know what he was doing.
Oh, you're going to love this. So,
yes.
What he was doing was basically setting up a World Cup operating company and then arranging to sell off 20% of it.
Wow.
To whom was he trying to do secret negotiations to sell 20% of the World Cup operating company, Chris?
You got to tell me.
All right. Thrive Capital, which you've never heard of.
Huh.
Thrive Capital. Yeah, I'd never heard of it either, too.
Lucky guys, huh?
Yeah, very, very lucky. Because the founder of Thrive Capital is one Joshua Kushner. Younger son of Jared Kushner.
You mean younger brother?
Or younger brother of Jared Kushner. Exactly.
Younger brother of Jared. Okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah. And of course, Jared Kushner is very famously the son-in-law of one Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So,
starting to come together a little bit.
Yeah. Just a bit. Just a tad. Just a scotch. Anyway, so when this gets revealed, basically, everyone just throws a shit fit. UEFA immediately denounces it. The North Central and North Central American CONCACAF, exactly. They denounce it. The Asian Football Confederation denounces it. They have to walk it back. They have to abandon the plans altogether. And I'm pretty sure Infantino is one of those guys who, basically operates according to the rules of Roy Cohn, which is never apologize, never explain.
Yeah.
You never back down, because the second you do, you will get torn to shreds because of all the crimes you did.
Because of all the criming, yes.
Roy Cohn very famously got disbarred because he was a criminal lawyer. See, I brought it back around.
You did.
Yeah.
You did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Well done.
So I can only, I'm sure that I speak for all of our fans here, all of the postdoc community.
Yes.
That's what we're calling you guys, by the way. We're calling you postdocs. We are not accepting any comments on this at this time. But I'm sure I speak for all of us when I say that I really hope that Gianni Infantino is able to just totally just explain it all, just totally provide an excellent explanation that everyone totally respects, and doesn't have to get thrown out on his ass for being a corrupt jerk.
Well, I got some bad news for you, Patrick.
Really?
Got some bad news because it seems like there's a lot of calls for him to resign, go, or that he can't stay in position.
No, really?
No, the
just because of just a little corruption?
Just a little sell-off of FIFA. Yeah. So the president of Spain's La Liga said he has to go. UEFA lost their minds, obviously. So, and it just looks like, he may not be the president of FIFA by the end of this sentence. I have heard about it because I was still in Europe when I was away. So I just got bigger and bigger, kind of coming out of nowhere. But people discovered that he was basically trying to sell off a portion of FIFA to the Americans or to whomever is in Kushner's brothers group, which again is just. It's so obvious and like brazen and naked in corruption. But like selling
it's like putting the bribe into a sack with a dollar sign on it instead of into a plain briefcase. But
then you have like the issue here is like CONCACAF is calling for review of FIFA leadership because I think UEFA and CONCACAF are both like, well, we're not going to do FIFA stuff if this is the deal. And so that's like Germany, the UK, Italy, Spain, Portugal, all out, right? And then also Brazil, Argentina, for Mexico, Canada, America, for better or worse, like all these countries that do FIFA things.
To be fair, Chris, I mean, like, is football even that big in Argentina?
They still took the day off, even though they lost. So yeah, I think we can leave it there. I mean, Infantino's got a world of trouble coming at him, but I'm sure there's an ambassadorship or something heading his way, and probably a citizenship and one of the Trump gold cards. He'll be fine. He already has 4 citizenships. Why not 5? He'll be fine. Immigration's great if you're white. So I think we need to briefly discuss once again the cessation of hostilities for approximately 25 minutes in across or on Iran.
Yeah, this is the great thing, Chris. It's one of those very few situations where the time it takes to discuss the situation may actually be longer than it takes for the situation to last. So once again on a Sunday before the markets open, shock, Donald Trump has announced that there's going to be a pause in the war for negotiations because we're rapidly approaching a deal. We've made just huge strides and the Iranians are begging us for a deal. And we're like, okay, well, I guess we'll consider your abject surrender. And that's why we're going to stop bombing you. Also, we're running out of missiles and we have run out of places to bomb, but it's fine because it's going great. It's going great, you guys. We're all fine here. How are you? Yeah. And of course, Iran, as is tradition, has immediately said, well, that's a pack of lies. Nope. So, the situation is we're at war, but not really at war. And also, we're going to bomb things, but also we are going to stop bombing things for now. And also, the Iranians have been totally obliterated. Their military no longer exists. Also, they keep being able to fire missiles at America's ship, and America can't stop it because America's out of the anti-missile missiles, which is a problem.
Yeah, that's a problem, yes.
Yeah, it's we've said it before, we'll say it again. Donald Trump got into this stupid war because he wasn't thinking about how it was going to go. He had no plan B. He's not a strategic thinker at all. And now he's in a trap. And the only way out is to gnaw his own leg off.
Yeah.
And he really doesn't want to do that. So he's just going to keep bleeding out in the trap.
I think he was let in by the nose. And obviously he was, nobody who knew what the hell they were talking about actually tried to make sure that this didn't start. And now this is a quagmire. I mean, this is the definition of a quagmire. I mean, and we were all talking about, how we finally got to a place where there's, ceasefire talks and that went away very quickly. And again, I think we're in the 6th or 7th week of, past the 4-week deadline of, where's all the oil going? I mean, we are looking at, unless something changes dramatically and very soon, a world where it is not only getting hotter and the water is receding rapidly from the northern hemisphere, but then we're approaching a time where we don't know how much money we're going to have. I'm sorry, how much oil we're going to have in the winter, and to keep our economies moving. And all of this is down to mostly almost 100% Donald Trump, but also Benjamin Netanyahu, who convinced the United States or convince Donald Trump to go along with this. He having never been able to convince anyone or any American administration beforehand.
Yep.
And again, there is no plan and there's no capacity to just kind of walk away, because walking away, the regime is still there. And I mean, but the Trump surrogates are still lying about, what's happening. They're saying, well, at least there wasn't a nuclear attack. I'm like, and people are just respond, but you obliterated their capacity to do it the year before the attack.
Yeah.
So,
and also they didn't have a capacity to build a bomb at that point either. And also they've been a year away from making a bomb for 20 years.
Yeah, it's been a year, 3 weeks, 3 months. It's just to bring out the old, the old poster with the, 2 minutes to midnight and so on, whatever. Yeah. But it's, there's a reason why this hasn't been done before. And again, it's college Republican politics. It's college Republican logic. Like, just bomb them, bro. It's going to be fine. And then they'll stop because we're America. No, actually, they'll just stop the oil moving to fund our entire economy.
Well, you see, Chris, it will be a triumph of the will. You just have to want it enough. It's the secret. I've been reading The Secret, Chris.
I've been reading The Secret. I've been reading It's Positive Mental Attitude.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think we should leave it there because, oh God, I hope it is. I hope it actually is left there, but I'm sure in the coming weeks we won't have it. Then let's take a little break and we'll be back with the America section.
All right.
And we will be right back. And we're back.
Shall we turn our attention towards the old United States, Chris?
Let's turn attention to the United States of America.
All right. Yeah, let's do it. Where would you like to start?
I think we need to start with Max Miller.
I think you're absolutely right. We need to start with Max Miller. Yeah. Representative Max Miller of the Ohio 7th District is, let's just say he's got a bit of a reputation at this point. Yeah. So he's a young Republican. He is also married to the daughter of a Senator Bernie Moreno of the Republican Party, again of Ohio, right? So he's an upcomer, right? He's a guy with a real future in the party. You would have thought, except for the allegations that are now very much against him from his now ex-wife, the daughter of Senator Bernie Moreno. So Emily Moreno married this chud in 2022. They divorced in 2025 with some very horrible allegations. So basically, Emily Moreno has said that not only is Max Miller abusive, but that he had done things such as taking water that was in a pan that had just been frying eggs, right? So, you pour water into like the pan to cool it down, right? So it's like,
Some people do that. Yes. I know exactly what you're talking about. Though.
Exactly. Right. Anyway, so he took that water and he threw it at her while she was holding their baby.
Wow.
Yes, that's fun.
Wow. That is terrible.
Yeah. And also he held a gun to her head at one point.
Oops.
And also broke their 2-year-old daughter's collarbone.
God damn. That's bad.
Yeah. So, so those are the allegations. They are dark. They are serious. And they are not purely coming from Miss Moreno, because an ex-girlfriend of Max Miller, Stephanie Grisham, had before that written basically an op-ed where she described, having suffered abuse in a relationship, that had turned violent, right?
Yeah.
And she did not name who the person was.
Right. Right.
People in the who knew her personal relationships knew that she was talking about Max Miller.
Wow.
And also she later said, yes, that was absolutely Max Miller that I was writing about. So there's, this is bad. And the thing is, these allegations against him have been in the news. They have been known. But what hasn't been in the news until very recently is any indication of any other Republican politician saying this guy has got to go. Right?
Yeah. That's true. Where are the myriad Republican legislators and politicians and thought makers and commentators who are, immediately calling for this person to stand down?
Where are the people in the Republican Party interested in policing their own, saying for the good of the party, you can't be here, right? Like this is clearly, regardless of whether or not we think the accusations are fully true, they're clearly not entirely made up. And you can't be the candidate with this cloud hanging over you. like, I'm not saying that, like, politicians have to be pure as the driven snow and purely activated by what is the obviously morally correct thing to do. Politics is a dirty business and it ain't beanbag. But you would think that one of the incentives would be, well, we can't have a guy who's been accused of breaking his own 2-year-old daughter's collarbone representing us at the election. This is absurd and he has to go, right?
Well, that's what you think.
Yeah.
That's what you'd expect. However,
fun story. Friday, Senator Bernie Moreno was asked about his daughter's allegations.
Yes.
And he was asked specifically, do you think that Max Miller should resign from Congress?
Hang on, let's just make sure everyone's paying attention here, because we are in the new age where everybody's looking at their phone or doing something else.
That's true.
The father of the father of the person who's accused Max Miller of throwing boiling water on her face, and the grandfather of the person that was accused, Max Miller was accused of breaking their collarbone as a baby, was asked that question.
Yeah.
So our father and grandfather were asked the question about you being beaten and burned.
Yep.
Go ahead.
And had a gun held to your head.
Oh, and I left that out. And had a gun.
Can't forget the gun. Yeah. Anyway, so here's his response. I don't know. His response is, I don't know, Chris. I don't know if the guy who my daughter says threw boiling water at me and also held a gun to my head and also broke our baby's collarbone. Should I tell that guy to step the fuck down from? I don't know.
I don't know. It's such a hard. What's the context?
Right? Yeah. Well, the context was he was asked, should this motherfucker resign from Congress? And his response was, I don't know.
I'm sure you're taking that out of context, because I'm sure that there's so many other different ways that could have been construed. And you're just being a dirty leftist who's not really putting all the information down.
Well, I will cop to this. I haven't given you all the information, Chris. There's some new information that has come out, which is that Senator Bernie Moreno has apparently decided it looks really bad to say shit like, I don't know, when asked about the man who is violent towards my daughter and my granddaughter, and maybe he should not be in Congress, because he has now on Sunday come out and said Max Miller has to go. I'm concerned with my daughter's safety, my granddaughter's safety. Like what matters here is that, I have to protect my family, and Max Miller has to go. Right. So this is, as far as I'm aware, Chris, the first Republican politician to come out and say it. Like, and this is what it took. And I think this is an indication of what it is that the Republican Party asks of its members and of its representatives. At this point, with Donald Trump as its leader, you must never, ever say that a Republican politician has to step down. You must never endanger the Republicans maintaining power in Congress. That is the only thing that matters.
Yeah. No, my concern here is also that first off, he didn't say yes immediately. It was had to consider the question, and two, it may just be because it's his daughter. And could you imagine looking your daughter and grandchild in the face saying, sorry, baby, I just gotta support him. I gotta support him because Trump wants us to support him." I mean, that's the end of your relationship with your child. I mean, somebody held a gun this person held a gun to your child's head, and this person is a Congress member. I mean, this person's a legislator, and it took you a few days to kind of figure it out. I mean,
and had to work it out. Very difficult derivations there. You got to carry the two.
Yes. Yeah. It's a difficult equation there for do I protect my daughter and granddaughter, or do I protect this potentially violent piece of shit? And yet, in the current MAGA Republican Party, it's a hard question for the father of a person who has made the accusation against Max Miller. He held a gun to her face, and he put the lives of his daughter and granddaughter in danger. And you're like, but love me some Trump.
Yeah,
that's insanity.
This is the thing, as Lindsey Graham found out. When it comes to Donald Trump, he takes and he takes and he takes, and he will leave you with nothing.
He'll leave you. Rudy Giuliani learned that even harder.
Jesus Christ. Now there's a desiccated husk. My God. Yeah. Todd Blanche is rapidly going that way too, because Todd Blanche's nomination to be the Attorney General, that appears to be basically kaput at this point. Because two delightfully, two senators that Donald Trump has personally pissed off and destroyed their political careers by making sure that they lost their primaries, he needed both of their support for Todd Blanche to become Attorney General. And now they're both saying, well, no, actually, maybe we don't want to do that.
Whoopsie doodle.
Yeah. Again, not a strategic thinker, Chris.
No, it's loyalty. It's blind loyalty. So, I mean, right, I think the final thing to say, at least for me on this, is that remember a few weeks ago and a few months ago where, Democrats had problems with people.
Oh, yeah. Eric Swalwell in California, a representative who was accused of rape.
Yes, and Graham Plattner.
Maynor Senate candidate, also accused of rape. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and when those two things came to light, I remember that it was just almost immediately a sea of condemnation from across, whether it be left commentators, influencers, representatives, legislators. I mean, within a day, 2, 3, and these people weren't related to the people who were making the accusations. And within a week, this guy's out. Within a week, done. Like, forget it. Had to resign. Finished. They tried to stand up for themselves, and immediately it was collapsed. There was no support, and they were done. But yet here, it's just crickets. It's just crickets. And there's only one person who's willing to stand up against, Miller, and it's the father and grandfather of the person, who the crime was alleged of. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, it was. It's nuts. Anyway.
Yeah. It's not that the Democratic Party is virtuous in this regard.
No,
I think it's just an indication that they're a normal political party, and MAGA is something else again.
Yeah, it's not a political party. But I think we should move on from there.
Yeah, let's. I got a bad taste in my mouth. Ugh.
Yeah, let's fill it up with some Fauci.
Cold, refreshing Fauci.
A nice, cold, refreshing cup of Anthony Fauci, Dr. Anthony Fauci.
Oh my God. Okay. I do love that man's accent. I'm not going to lie. I find his accent.
Anthony Fauci.
Yeah, I find his accent refreshing.
I'm sure. Yeah. Does it remind you of New York?
Exactly, right? My people, all from New York. So yeah. Anyway,
so for those of you who do not keep an eye on all the politics, as I was getting ready to come home and I was looking at things on my phone, I started to note that Anthony Fauci had been brought before the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee, and
HUAC was busy.
HUAC, yes. And the purpose of this was to talk about COVID-19. Now, if you might remember, because a lot of people want to put a giant curtain around those years where COVID happened. I am not one of them, because we need to remember what happened, because it's not like it's not going to happen again. And specifically with the kind of people that we have in power in Washington, actively destabilizing, public health for reasons that are only known to them in silver nitrate and the people, the lizard people,
and the worms in their heads,
I'm pretty sure that worm died. But the point being is that Anthony Fauci was in charge of the American response to COVID-19, and him, along with so many other doctors, basically came up with a lot of the guidance for the United States to follow, whether it be social distancing or masking, taking the vaccine. And this is all done, of course, underneath the leadership, or at least the theoretical leadership of Donald Trump. You may remember Fauci from the famous press conference where Trump said, well, if you flash a bright light into your veins, it just kills that whole thing off. And
so have we tried doing that? Have we tried, putting bleach in the veins?
And Fauci just putting his hands over his hand, try not to, laugh and or cry. But a lot of people suffered from COVID, obviously. And a lot of states in America, depending on where you were, you didn't want to be in some states during COVID because they took their approach to COVID as let it rip, let the people just be who they are, because for reasons that we can get into later, I feel it was just keep the economy moving. I don't care if we kill off 1 million people because at least the factories will still be open. Yeah. So Rand Paul is the chair of the Homeland Security Committee in the Senate, and Dr. Rand Paul, I should say, hates Anthony Fauci, Dr. Anthony Fauci.
He sure does.
And it was the expressed desire of MAGA when Trump became the president and they won control of both the House and the Senate to go after their political enemies. They were very clear that there will be retribution. And Anthony Fauci was top of their list because, I mean, Anthony Fauci and others like him said, don't take horse medicine to cure your COVID. It doesn't work. And
it's an anti-parasite medicine, and COVID isn't a parasite. So I don't know what you think is going to happen, guys. You know?
So MAGA treated that like he said, you know, put your kids to the fire and worship Baal. So Joe Biden, before he left, gave out a whole bunch of blanket pardons to people who would be who he clearly thought were going to be persecuted by MAGA. One of those people was Anthony Fauci. So because we know that MAGA was working exceptionally hard to put Fauci in jail for their perceived crimes that they believed Fauci to create. And the reason they believe he created these crimes, created this crisis, because there's some kind of very tenuous link to a lab in Wuhan that may have gotten some money from America, and that lab was working on some things. And then MAGA basically believes that lab.
Well, that's the thing.
Created COVID, the COVID that we had, and it was all a purposeful thing to hurt Trump.
Which is, I mean, here's the thing. Regardless of whether or not you think that, COVID originated from a zoological origin and then it spread to people in Wuhan, or if you think that it was in a lab in Wuhan and it got out because of lax safety procedures or whatever, right? The idea that it was a deliberate thing where the Chinese Communist Party was like, aha, we'll release a virus in our own city and wait for it to spread to the entire world to annoy Donald Trump. Like, that's so, I mean, to state it is to refute it, right? It's completely insane.
It's crackpot. It's crackpot conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
But yet that's where we are. And so Rand Paul drags Anthony Fauci in front of this committee and and basically says, you know, we're going to grill you. And here's the problem. The pardon that was granted to Fauci basically lands from January 1st, 2014, until the date of the pardon, which I think was some date in probably January 20th or 21st, 2025.
I believe it would have been around that. Yeah.
It started the 19th of January, 2025. And it basically covered everything that he did as director of the NIH, National Institute for Allergy, NIAID, which is Allergy and Infectious Diseases, and the White House Coronavirus Task Force, and being advisor to the president. So everything he did in those areas between 2014 and 2025 were covered. Between January and January. Everything else after that isn't covered. So if he, murders somebody tomorrow, then that doesn't covered by the pardon.
Right.
So the issue is that it was very clear that they wanted to bring him into Congress to have him talk and to have him basically talk himself into basically a perjury charge.
Exactly. Yeah.
And he decided that I don't need to do that because I'm already covered from the time that you want to get me for, which you can't get me for. And you're trying to figure out something else, some new way to get me. So he used his Fifth Amendment rights and he said, I'd really like to talk to you, but under my Fifth Amendment rights, I'm not going to, and I don't have to. And he just said
on the advice of counsel, I will not be answering that question and invoking my Fifth Amendment rights. Now, what's interesting is that when they kept asking him questions, he kept responding with the same phrase.
That's correct.
Which made for some scintillating television press, I have to say. Yeah. You may be asking yourself at home, why does he have to keep saying it? Isn't that a bit much? And actually, it's because the Supreme Court, as usual, engaged in fuckery, ruled basically, I think back in 2013, that if you want to use your Fifth Amendment rights, it's not enough to stay silent. You have a right to stay silent, Chris, but that doesn't mean you can just stay silent, says the Supreme Court. Instead, you have to explicitly tell them that you are staying silent. Because your right to remain silent does not actually include remaining silent, it would appear.
You have to declare that you're going to be silent.
Right, exactly.
Because we have to know that we have to know that you're not going to answer the question.
Exactly.
I think that's fair. But it's like if I walk in and ask you a question, just like shh, just like, do you know what I'm saying? Shh. And like there's no way for you to declare that's what you're doing. You have to basically declare what you're doing.
I mean, I think that's the kind of ruling you make when you're just like annoyed and you're like, enough, I don't want to deal with this anymore. I don't think it's defensible from a constitutional standpoint, to be honest with you. A right to remain silent has to be a right to remain silent, right? But anyway, that's just me.
That's
being pedantic,
and we could talk about that. That's
exactly
pedantic. But the point being is that he used this, and obviously he's really pissed off the Rand Paul and all the MAGA guys who were there.
They didn't give him their goddamn television, Chris.
Oh no,
they really wanted television out of him.
They created their own television. One of them swore, "Who the fuck do you think you are?" I forget which one.
Yeah, I saw that, and that wasn't like. I mean, is there a stronger word than cringe?
Embarrassing and unbecoming, and not. It's not a word, but it's just like millions of people did die. Yep. And they died in states where you just didn't care. They died in states where, you let people flout the rules. They died everywhere. But,
they died much more often in Republican states because Republican states actively did not encourage people to get the vaccine when it came out. The second the vaccine came out, you had this huge divergence in the death rate. Like blue states and blue areas all of a sudden saw huge reductions in the death rate, and red states didn't. And it was because Democrats didn't decide taking a fucking vaccine for a deadly disease is actually, betrayal of something. Like, I
mean, basically, they tried to turn this in. They wanted to turn this into a massive clip factory so that they can, crush him. And so all they really had was the fact that he invoked the fifth this like 111 times. Mm-hmm. And the problem is that they're like, he invoked the fifth 111 times. He must be guilty because anyone who invokes the fifth that many times must be guilty. Yeah. And anyone who posted that online would immediately have as the very first comment Donald Trump doing the exact same thing 400 times. And I don't know. I don't remember the exact case, but I don't think
into that one, aren't they?
Again, it's like if you live in that biosphere of nonsense news, which isn't news, it's just biosphere of comment that you treat as news, you are unaware that the leader of your movement did that 4 times over.
Of course,
on a
because
bigger criminal trial.
You're not allowed to know those things, Chris.
Exactly. You're not allowed to know those things.
Exactly.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
What's going on? What are we doing?
Have I told you about my sleep demons, Chris? Also, I should mention I have cats, so
But yeah, I mean, so basically, for Fauci didn't give him their day. They kicked out his lawyer because
that's fun.
The lawyer kept on saying he has a right to do this, and they're like, "You're not invited to speak here. You can stand there silently." So they removed his right to counsel. So I mean, it was just an absolute embarrassment, and they're still going to try and get him for contempt of Congress. Which is hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, good God! Now Congress does have a power of inherent contempt. That is absolutely true, right? It is not used like ever. I don't know that Republicans really want to, break the seal on that, is what I'm saying, because Republicans, conservatives have a very, very, very long history of, flouting congressional investigations, refusing to cooperate, and occasionally lying before Congress. But mostly if you're trying to get onto the Supreme Court and they ask you whether you're going to overturn Roe v. Wade. So, I would be cautious if I were the Republicans about But they only
need to be cautious if they think they're going to be prosecuted for it. I mean, and Congress has and so Congress does have the power to try to go for him. But again, it's a really hard thing to get Congress to agree to. Because it's the legislature using its effectively its judicial power or its enforcement power, and you can only stay in. And there's a jail, I believe, in Congress, and you can only stay in that jail for the term of that Congress. So it may be another year and a half until the contempt disappears. But at the same time, I mean, they didn't prove anything with Fauci. They didn't prove anything with. Almost anything that was said, it was just rage, anger, and nonsense. And and at the end of the day, I remember when somebody said, that's all they have. And also, I remember one of them saying, 9 million people died, and it's all Fauci's fault. And I'm just like, I think it was in the state of Alabama. I think it was Tommy Tuberville that actually said it.
Oh, that sounds like a Tommy Tuberville thing.
9 million people died, and it's all Anthony and actually Fauci killed him. I'm like,
something profoundly stupid and wrong in every single regard. That's the Tommy Tuberville promise.
That is the Tuberville promise, and so I mean, it was, I guess, a bit of. it was a bit of theater. Obviously, it was designed to be theater. It wasn't designed to answer any questions. Laura Ingraham was in the background. If you ever watched the footage, rolling her eyes and, he really deserves to go to jail. This is the same person who said that COVID was nothing and COVID wasn't that bad and COVID wasn't deadly.
Yeah. Now, Chris, you're not allowed to. No, that's been memory hold. We're not allowed to think. We've always been at war with East Asia, Chris. Yes, stop asking these questions.
Yes, I will try my best to stop asking these questions, and I'm sure that they will soon come knock down on my door and get me re-educated. So, I mean, again, we'll see what they're going to try to do with Fauci. It's a bit ridiculous, but let's end on some good news. Let's talk about David Hearn, a name that you may or may not know.
Yeah.
But, just recently, this man was facing some very serious allegations and potential jail time for the great grave action of slicing up the reflecting pool.
Yeah. Vandalizing it, causing over $1,000 worth of criminal damage, Chris. So he was facing a 10-year prison sentence.
10 years. That's
10 years. Yeah, 10 years. Because if you cause criminal damage to federal property, that is a serious crime. That is a felony. And you can
just ask all those guys who attacked on January 6th. Who are
now, Chris, that was just a sightseeing tour, Chris. It's not damaging federal property criminally to take a shit on the floors of the Senate.
Or break all the windows.
Anyway, that's fun. But so David Hearn is an interesting guy because he is a former Olympian, right? He has represented his country, at the Olympic Games. And he filmed himself basically visiting the reflecting pool, taking a look at its gorgeous still majesty. No, sorry, it was full of crap and, obviously algae-rific. And also the coating that they put down was already peeling off. And so he filmed himself touching a floating piece of the coating that had become detached from the pool.
Yeah.
And on the basis of that, the Department of Justice and Jeanine Pirro declared
former Fox News host.
Former Fox News host. Yeah. And basically arrested him and managed to get a grand jury to agree to criminal charges. Again, very serious charges, facing 10 years in prison. A grand jury agreed. Enough evidence was there to try him, Chris.
Yep.
Yes, very important. Although, interestingly enough, just I think a day or two ago, the Department of Justice had to admit to the judge, we're dropping all the charges.
Last Friday.
Because we've only just realized, Chris, that actually we don't have any evidence of him causing any damage whatsoever. And in fact, the damage we were talking about was caused by the incredibly botched and rushed repair job to the reflecting pool, and we only just became aware that actually we got nothing. Would it surprise you, Chris, to learn that before the Department of Justice admitted all of this, David Hearn's attorney had made a very interesting motion?
What was the motion, Patrick?
Well, the motion was to take a look at what was actually said to that grand jury.
Oh,
yeah. And if you've been following, the joy of the Department of Justice under Donald Trump, you may know that there's a reason why the Department of Justice lawyers immediately said, fuck, we have to pull out now. And it's because the Department of Justice under Donald Trump has a history of having their lawyers go before the grand juries and just lie and do things like vouch and say, I know you're not seeing the evidence, but trust me, I wouldn't bring these charges unless we had that evidence.
Trust me, bro.
Which you literally cannot do. That is just, oh my God, that is so unethical. And any lawyer who does that shit should be disbarred immediately. And the problem for these lawyers working for the Department of Justice, Chris, is that they're starting to get disbarred.
Oh,
really? Yeah, they're starting. Oh, yeah. Like a few lawyers, Rudy Giuliani amongst them, have actually been referred to their local bars for, their local bar organizations for sanctions, which may include things like disbarment. And of course, some people have in fact been disbarred. And that means that you can no longer practice law. It means this thing you dedicated your entire life to, you did it for nothing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's an interesting situation. I don't think the fact that they requested information about the grand jury and the Department of Justice immediately dropping the case like a hot potato, I don't think those are unrelated events, Chris.
No, I don't think so. Of course, Trump doesn't care. He 100% disagrees with Gianni Infantino, according to his Truth Social post. And I don't know what she was thinking. To me, it was a pure case of vandalism. But again, it's... and for first off, congratulations to David Hearn, because everyone could see that there's no way that he could. I think the argument was that he had some kind of X-Acto knife or box cutter.
Yeah, and like had used it to cut through the professional coating that is supposed to be impervious to box cutters. He did it like right down the center.
He did it right down the center. Yeah. So and there's no video of him doing that. There's a video of him that was all over right-wing media of him like touching or at least reaching out on. There was a fuzzy video of him reaching out like onto like the edge of the reflecting pool. But in order for him to have done that, he would have had to take a very big, very long knife and walk in the middle of the reflecting pool in full view of everybody and God, and then just like start ripping stuff up, and all the people who are in there be like, "Wow, that's weird." Moving on. So I mean, I mean, like we've seen cases of this before now, where I mean, it's really hard for grand juries to agree with Trump lawyers in the first place. So it was always surprising that they did in this case, and obviously, you know, for the lawyers must have known that, and so they said, "Why has this gone through? Let's figure out what they said in the grand jury." All of a sudden, Pirro says. They're significantly undermined the evidentiary basis for the indictment. Her office had received information and evidence after the charges were filed, by the way. That significantly undermined the evidentiary basis for the indictment. So she's basically saying that, well, we were very, very sure, and then something came up, guys. Something appeared in front of us. Oh, no. A folder full of all the proof that we just were waiting for. I guess you're fine, David.
Yeah. This is, and that I do want to point this out. We shouldn't take from this, see, the system worked. This is fine. This was the government using its incredible amount of power to punish a private citizen. For being someone who disagrees with Donald Trump. This is tyranny. The fact that this tyranny was defeated is only an indication that the courts are not fully corrupted. It is not an indication that this is not attempted tyranny. Like, no lawyer involved in the drafting of those charges should be left a lawyer. Every single one of them needs to be disbarred and shamed, if not fined and potentially imprisoned. Like, to abuse your authority is a crime. And it is time for the American people to start demanding that we take that crime seriously.
Yes. Oh, and that's why it's important to vote. That's why it's important to register to vote. That's why it's important to vote in a lot of the elections, not just the big ones, because this stuff didn't start yesterday. It started 30 years ago on school boards and county boards and sanitation boards, getting the crazies in there. And all of a sudden you have Fox News hosts in charge of the Army and the Navy and the Air Force and the Marines and the Attorney General's office in D.C. and the White House.
Well, you know, it actually matters who we put in charge of the most powerful country in the world.
It's the dual-edged nature of democracy. We get a choice, but you don't get any takesies backsies until we get another choice again. So again, sorry that this was out late this week. Blame me, like everybody else does, for everything else that happens in the world. It is my fault. I am a white man.
Now, let's not go crazy, Chris.
Let's not go crazy. But we'll try to get back on schedule as we try to survive the heat here in London. But as always, I'm Dr. Silverstein.
I'm Dr. Armshaw.
We are doctors.
Not doctors.
Good night.